Welcome back, Juicers, to this episode of the Morning Juice Podcast. Today we have author KB Campbell, or as we are going to call him throughout the episode, Kyle, who has a book that was the #1 bestseller on Amazon, even though it may have only been for just over 48 hours. The Space Between Our Lives. And he is going to talk about his book and also mental health issues that he had dealt with in his life. So please welcome Kyle and your host, Juice.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Juice, and with us today is Kyle. Kyle, what's up, bro?
What's up, Juice? That was a great opening, man. I need to have that as my alarm clock in the morning.
Right?
Give me some of that extra motivation.
See, don't that make you feel good when you hear that from his professionalism, his commercial voice like that?
He's got a good voice, man.
He does. That's what I told him. That's why I like his opening, because I get on there, like once I start talking like this, I'm good. But like when I used to do the opening, I'd be like, "This is the Morning Juice. I am your host."
Why are your
Juice.
eyes crossed? You know, like just
We're
get
like,
it out. That's good.
So, it's good to have you on.
Yeah, man.
For people
Glad we
that
made this
don't know,
work.
we've been in like an hour and 25-minute technical delay because AT&T decided to shut down all the fiber in Hendersonville. Not even all of Hendersonville, just a small section that we are living in, that we're coming from. So
Just your
Kyle,
house.
thank you for your patience. You
Yeah.
know, at least we got to catch up. I know Kyle, he was one of my people at the ranch when I was working at the ranch. And so like, Kyle, you could take it away and start your story wherever you would like to start it. And I'll just jump in and we'll make little slick remarks throughout. You know how we do.
I love it, man. Yeah, thanks for having me, Juice. You know, I know it's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get this lined up, so we didn't let AT&T's fiber shenanigans let us out this time. So
That's right.
yeah. So I mean, I've had a good life. I've been blessed with great family and great friends, and you know, I know I can't say that for a lot of people. And I do have a really good support network, but sometimes your brain, Juice, sometimes the brain just betrays you. And, you know, my brain is just so mean to me. And it's this constant fight, you know, this constant struggle of, it's a battle against my own brain, you know, and it's a struggle, you know, it's a struggle every single day. And I think that's what people need to know right off the bat is, you know, this isn't something that goes away, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You know, you just learn to deal with it in different ways. You learn different coping mechanisms and you expand your support network, which I try to do as much as possible. And
Absolutely.
you know, just not even mental health addiction, you know, which I struggled with. And, you know, it's okay. It's okay for that to be, a struggle. And the work never stops, Juice. That's what they always say. You know, growing in ourselves, it's not an act, it's a habit.
That's right.
The work never stops, but that doesn't mean it has to be so hard all the time. So
Absolutely.
you know, I know we're talking. I'm caught having one of the bad days today, but you know, I've been relying heavily on that support network to get me through it. So a lot of, you know, mental health stuff. I started real early, man. So I was born with a really rare bone disease. It's called bilateral fibular hemimelia. And you got to be careful where you say that because your furniture is going to start floating. All right.
Right.
Don't ask me to spell it. I don't know how many M's are in it, but
I'm impressed that you got it out so easily.
I've been saying it so long, you know, I still can't even spell it. Don't even ask me to spell it. But you know, basically what's wrong with me is I was born without my fibulas, right? So you got your tibia, which is your shin bone, and then you got your fibula, which is right next to it. And
Right.
so I don't have my fibulas, and I was born with feet deformities as well. And this is a really rare bone disease, and it's so rare, in fact, that pretty much everyone who has it has to have their legs amputated below the knee, or at least their feet. And, you know, when I was born, my parents didn't want that for me. And they took me all over the US, literally all over the country when I was a baby to try to find a doctor that would do surgery. And we found someone in our backyard in Orlando, this guy, Adam Finichel, and he was like fresh out of med school. I think he was like younger. I think he was like in his late 20s or something, but he had just out of the blue randomly studied this. It was like his focus in med school. And he was willing to give me a chance, and we set it up. So, you know, I was still a baby at the time. So when I was 5, I had this leg reconstructive surgery. So what they did was they broke both of my legs, and they took part of my right fibula, because I had a little bit of a right fibula. They took part of my right fibula and they put it into my left leg, which is crazy. I don't know the science behind it. I still don't know the science behind it.
Right.
But the x-rays are wild, Juice. That's all I can say. I got to get those framed. But I've had, but it was painful, so from right off the bat, I was 5, I knew I was different. I knew something wasn't right. I was always in casts, and my ankles were fragile. My bones haven't been growing right. I mean, I could still run, and I played sports growing up, but I was constantly fracturing my ankle or breaking a leg or breaking some kind of bone. And it was a struggle. And when I turned 12, my feet and my left leg stopped growing. So what they do is they do this thing called a fixator, right? So they broke my leg, my left leg, they broke it, and they attached it, they basically like a metal halo they put around your leg, and you have all these pins sticking
Oh
out of
yeah.
your leg. Yeah, it's disgusting. But I had to take twice a day. I had to take an Allen wrench and twist the fixator at the bottom, and it spread my bone apart. So I dealt with this for 6 months. And when you're in 7th grade and middle school, and you're a middle school boy, you're trying to look as cool as possible and having
Yeah.
everything on your leg. That was tough, man. A lot of people saying you're gross, and a lot of people, looking at you differently. You're different, and it's a lot of pain. And, the first time I was high, I was 12. I was, taking Percocets at the time. And I was like, this is the greatest feeling in the world,
Yeah, I don't feel my leg no more, so
I
this
don't
is
feel
great.
anything, and it's fantastic. And I was always in the back of my mind growing up, especially when I did experiment with drugs. And I had, some other major surgeries, up until I was 14. And, it was, the surgeries were hard, but like the feet stuff, when you grow up in Orlando, you're going to the beach all the time. And it's hard to explain to people, like why your feet look the way they are, or why you're always in casts and bones, and or why your legs are always broken. I'm like
Yeah.
Forrest Gump pretty much walking around for most of my childhood. And it was difficult, and I never really knew how to deal with it. I never really got to a point in my life where I accepted myself and loved myself. And for a long time, it was just like, I hate myself, I'm ugly, and I'm going to do everything I can to run away from this and hide from this. And
Yeah.
I know some of my friends who are listening to this who are going to be surprised to hear this, because that's how much I, never even really talk about this. It was hard. I was real depressed, man, from probably like 12, when I was 12 years old is when it first started. And that's when I kind of first dipped into the world of the mental health world, and just how freaking hard it is to get help in this country. Juice, it's too damn hard.
It is.
It's too expensive. It's too, you don't get the right, psychiatrists. Maybe there are some good psychiatrists out there. I haven't really had any until I went to the ranch. Obviously, I never really had any good psychiatrists. I mean, I had one I would go to once a week, and they would give me a new medication every week, which is insane because it takes like 3-4 weeks for something to even kick in.
It takes at least 4 weeks for it to start working, and about 8 weeks before you really feel any really true effects from it.
Yeah, and it's you can't be doing that. You can't be switching.
No, because you're just med swapping at that point.
So I just, this was last year. It was about April of last year. And I'm just, I'm ready to give up, Juice. It's tough, and my brain's being mean to me. And, it's a struggle. I didn't know what direction to go into, and I didn't have a purpose, Juice. And that's something I still struggle with to this day, is I struggle with my purpose is. I struggle with what God has in store for me, and we'll get to that later. But, this was last year, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, and I needed help. And, my sister had gone through the ranch program. It had changed her life completely. And she was struggling with a lot for a really, really long time. And she went through the ranch, and it changed her life. And and my stepbrother went to the ranch too. So it was kind of like a whole family affair. And my sister was like, you gotta try the ranch. You gotta go to the ranch. And I talked to my mom about it, talked to my dad about it. And I remember my best friend growing up, one of my best friends had his wedding, and I had to hang on for like 1 more week. And that was like the hardest week of my life, Juice, just trying to stay motivated and positive, knowing that like I was at the bottom of the barrel, man. I was scraping the barrel, dude. I was anything I could to get any kind of help. I was trying to get help with, and I wasn't sleeping, and when you're not sleeping, you're not making any good choices, Juice.
Absolutely not. Heck no.
Yeah. And finally, made it to the wedding. It was a great wedding. In April of 2024, I went to the ranch, and obviously, I struggled with addiction and drugs and getting high. And, it was a big identity of my, for like 7 years of my life, that was like my identity, and partying. And it was great. It was, great lifestyle for, someone that didn't care about anything.
Right.
Who didn't love themselves, who didn't, care if they woke up the next morning, and it's just not a sustainable lifestyle. And these are, things that had all come back to me all at once. You push things away, you push trauma away for as long as you can, but it all comes back, Juice, and everything came back to me all at once. So, it was good timing. Went to the ranch, and when you get to the ranch, I know we were talking about this a little earlier, but when you get to any rehab, you walk in and you're scared, Juice. You're scared.
Absolutely.
You're terrified. You think, my first thought was, everyone here is crazy, right?
Yes.
Everyone's crazy. I'm not crazy, but everyone here is
Right.
crazy.
I remember that.
But what I've learned there was there are very few crazy people in this world. There's just something that's making them act crazy at that time. But in your head, you don't know these people, but you're living with them, and they're fighting and they're yelling and they're having panic attacks, and you're like, oh my God, this is awful. And you're scared.
But so when you went to the ranch, was you shocked at how many people was actually there? Because that was big for me when I went as a client. I was shocked there was actually that many people there needing help, because I felt like I was the only one that felt like that.
I was really surprised, especially when you're in your own head, you're in your own mental health, and you think you're the only one going through something. And it really woke up, that wasn't just people my age. I woke up to the fact that it's people of all ages that are going through it. I mean, we had someone there who was 19, we had someone there who was 70. And it's really all ages that are really having a hard time. And I was shocked. I mean, we had like 20 people in our house at one point.
Yeah, it was 16, because 16 was a full house.
Yeah, we had 16 people, and when I got there, it was only about 11. And I was surprised to see and to hear some of these stories, Juice, and it really put a lot of things into perspective. I mean, everyone's trauma is unique to themselves, but you hear some stories, and it really makes you grateful for what you have. And I think that's why also the ranch works really well, is it realizes you're not alone, and puts things into perspective for you.
Absolutely.
Which is really why I started writing the book. And the whole idea was the space between our lives. I wanted to have a title that sort of addressed the fact that this space, our lives are connected in a way. It's not this big space. We're all, in this together, I guess, is like the corny way to put it. But everyone's struggling in one way or another, and you're not alone. And that was the big tagline that I wanted to push as much as I can, is you're not alone. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And, for a long time, Juice, my whole life, pretty much, I waited around for someone to believe in me, or someone to come save me, or hand me the tools for success. And, unfortunately, that's just not how life works, Juice. That's not the world we live in. And if you want to get better, if you want to find success, you got to do two things. And these are the things I learned in my own journey, and I hope people can get something out of it. But the first thing, number one, is you got to ask for help. And there's no shame in it. There's this stigma, especially among men, that help is a sign of weakness. And I believe that for forever. Real men just are supposed to take the punches and be silent and deal with it as it comes. But that's categorically false, Juice. It takes a real man to look themselves in the mirror and admit weakness and admit they have faults. And
I say that every single day to my clients. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm here to help you and guide you through this. Even like when you was there, I helped you. I was a guide.
Oh yeah.
But like, you take the courageous step by showing up, because the hardest step is that first step into a facility.
It was tough, man. It was the hardest. And those, you can't, for the first 3 days there, you can't call anyone. You can't, contact anyone. You're just in there by yourself. And if you really think about it, how connected we are to our phones or TVs or anything, like just like taking yourself out and like putting yourself in your own thoughts so you don't have anything to distract you is scary in its own end. It's terrifying. And I was scared. I was terrified. And I'll keep saying it forever. It was one of the scariest things I've ever done. I'm in an unknown environment with people I don't know. I don't know if they're going to blow up on me. I don't know if I'm safe. I don't know how safe I am, but I'm safe. The ranch is a safe place. And I learned that pretty quickly. And I learned that people are there to help you. And I've never really had people who were so willing to give up everything in their lives like you to go work at a place like the ranch to see, to see people through the hardest points in their life. And that was the big step. Number one is you got to ask for help, which is the hardest step of all, I'll tell you. And it's not something you do just once. You don't just ask for help once and you're like, okay, I'm done. I finally got, no, you're going to be asking for help forever. I asked for help today. I needed help. I needed help from my support network. And it's not something you do just once, and there's no shame in doing it multiple times. If you don't ask for help, you're not going to get better. That's just
you're going to go the other way for sure.
Absolutely. and it affects other people around you. It's not just yourself. So the second thing, another really hard thing to do, and you got to believe in yourself, and you can't wait around for other people to believe in you. But it's really hard to do when you don't like yourself. And for me, you know, obviously struggling with like self-image issues and whatnot. I had to figure out what is the key. What is the code? How do I crack the code to believe in myself? And it comes down to confidence. You got to
Yeah.
find that confidence to believe in yourself. And the way to do that is you surround yourself with a community of people who are going to support you and are going to uplift you. And above all, they're going to be honest with you. These aren't going to be like yes people who are going to support your actions. They're going to tell you the truth. And I've got some great friends up here, the Vaughns, the Veals. They tell me the truth all the time. And it makes me real angry sometimes, Juice, but they're right. They're normally right.
There is nothing better than having a friend that will disagree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you have nothing but yes men, they're gonna go right down the Titanic with you. Like they're gonna go right down that road with you. When you was at the ranch, had I started doing it because I started at the ranch about that time you got there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember if it was with your house or the house after yours where I started telling clients from day one the best thing they can do is start looking in the mirror every time they wash their hands when they go to the bathroom and just say something nice about themselves.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, we had someone put Post-it notes on the mirror.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we did have Post-it notes on the mirrors for a little while. But like,
the big thing was
you left, I started telling the clients, I was like, all I want you to do is every time you go to the restroom and you turn around and wash your hands, most time you look at the sink because you don't want to look at yourself. Just look at yourself and say one nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I woke up today. I don't care how little of a nice thing it is, because you know, part of that journey that we go on, we have to like reprogram our brains to have positive neurons going through it instead of the negative neurons. So you have to start somewhere. So, you know, I always like once I got my footing under me as a tech, you know, I would start doing that way they can get that positive neurons pass going, you know, day one if possible.
And once you switch that mindset, it changes your whole brain chemistry. Once you start thinking positive thoughts, and these are all dumb things that I would like hear people tell me, and I'm like, that's stupid. You know, positive thinking? What are you talking about, you weirdo? But
yeah, I think about nothing but negative.
I think about negative thoughts. I hate myself. You know, that they get so stuck. It's terrible. You say terrible things to yourself, and you start to believe it, and that's the worst part, Juice. Is you tell yourself these things and over and over again, so many times, you start to believe it.
Yes.
And I was stuck, you know, I was stuck in that mud and that quicksand. And another thing that I suggest that the ranch that I did as soon as I got home, because the ranch did it, was I had a whiteboard. You know, the whiteboard is above your bed. Yeah, I have one right by my door. So when I walk out of my my apartment every morning, I look at my whiteboard. It's got my motivations on it. You know, don't forget you are enough. I think my sister wrote that, but you know, don't forget you are enough, and you know, things that I need to work on, stay off social media and write.
Oh, that's amazing. Like, I'm glad you still use that a year later. Like that's freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's been a big part of it's such a small thing. Some of these things are really small, and I'll get into how to get over some of these anxiety or panic attacks in a second. But yeah, one of those is the whiteboard is a huge tool that I learned from the ranch. You know, another thing that I learned that kind of helped me believe in myself and gain that confidence back was to serve. And that doesn't, you know, mean going to, you know, it can mean going to, you know, your homeless shelter, feeding the homeless. That's a great way to serve, or volunteering at your church. The church is free, by the way. You don't have to pay for anything to go to church. Church is free.
Absolutely.
But you know, you serve in your own way by doing the podcast. That's your way of serving.
Service work is probably one of the biggest parts of my whole recovery, because I want everybody to feel what I feel at this point in my life. Like I want somebody to look at me and be like, hey, how do you feel the way you feel? And I'll be like, come on, I'll show you.
Yeah, I agree. And that, you know, before I forget, there was something, it was like one of my last days at the ranch. You said something that I'll never forget. And I did it as soon as I got home. You were talking about your journey and just how, you know, shut in you were, and, you know, your own mental health issues. And you said, when you left the ranch, you started driving with your windows down and your arm out the window. I was like, what is he talking about? Like, what?
Yeah, because I was so locked in my own misery and isolation. I didn't even want nobody to see me when I was driving.
Yeah.
But it feels amazing to drive with your window down now and let let the sun get that fresh air in. Like I do it all. I still do it to this day.
You need the fresh air. I mean, it's honestly, it's pivotal for the mental health. You can't stay indoors all day. You got to get that fresh air. Another thing I thought was dumb, but that's actually true. My buddy Levi, my roommate Levi at the ranch, I love him to death. And he does this thing every day where he posts a devotional on Facebook or Instagram. Jesus Calling is the name of the devotional. He posts that daily devotional every day, and that's him serving, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to, that's just doing something. The idea of serving is to doing something that's bigger than yourself. And I can't explain the math behind it, but that gives you confidence. And that helps you really believe in yourself, which really helped me get to my step 2 point, was just, I needed ways to believe in myself, and serving having a purpose bigger than myself really helped me gain that confidence juice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, I grew, I'm saying, now, ever since we talked about it, with, what's his name? Lee. I can't stop saying, now.
Yeah.
I know it was going to happen. We'll cut that out. I don't know. Another big thing is religion. That you gotta find a higher power when you're in your path for recovery. And I'm a Christian, and I found God. I knew God. I grew up Catholic, and I went to a Christian school, and I knew God, but I didn't know him. I didn't really know what that was all about. And I really did find him at the ranch, and I found him when I moved up here in Tennessee. And it's tough. You really learn how weak you are when you're out in that valley. And my therapist, I have a great therapist, Elena, and she's Christian, and reminds me that you really can't get from point A to point B without this higher power. You can't do it on your own. And yeah, you have a support community, but you need this thing. It needs to be bigger than yourself. And that's where religion came in, and that's where God came in. And I hear a lot of how do I pray? A lot of people in my recovery ask how do I pray? And my prayers used to be, Lord, make me as cool as Harrison Ford. And I don't think that
there you go.
Yeah, that really, I don't know how that's working out, but praying, what do I pray for? What do I ask God for? How do I get out of this valley? And I tell people to pray for strength, pray for protection, pray for a willing heart, pray to be a part of something bigger than yourself, pray for forgiveness. But above all, just ask the Lord to open your heart and mind to what you need to learn and accept. And I remember my pastor said that a couple of weeks ago, and that really hit me. And I've been really praying for that hard, especially recently, is what do I need to learn to accept? What's out of my control that I'm never going to be able to control, that I'm trying way too hard to control, that I need to let go, that I need to move on from?
That to me was the difference between, when I told you that I went to the ranch twice. Literally the main thing I changed between the first time and second time is that I found my spirituality the second time. Mm-hmm. And I explain it to the clients these days as saying, I gave the control over to somebody else. I don't have to control anything no more. Like if it's beyond my control, I'm not even supposed to deal with it. It's God's will, mm-hmm. Kind of like where I told you that, I'd been sick, had pneumonia, and then Mom got sick for several weeks. I am so in tune with my spirituality at this point that, like, when we didn't know if she was going to get out of the hospital or not, I told Mom, I was like, Mom, God's got a plan for you. He's going to heal you no matter what. It's just a matter if you're going to be on earth or you're going to be in heaven. Mm-hmm. And at this point of her disease, I'm okay either way. Like, I will selfishly cry not having her physically here on earth, but I will rejoice in the name of God that she's healed when that time comes, because that's all that matters to me. And for me, her poisoning that caused all this is a lot of my trauma. So to know that I can sit here today without crying and say that, it shows the work that God has actually done to me, Mm-hmm. And like I don't try to control anything. I'm a free spirit. You saw it tonight when we was having technical difficulties. We were just like chilling because it was like, it's God's will. Like God didn't want me to start it that time. I needed to wait for a little bit. Like, I just don't even care no more. It's like, If I get frustrated, I just pray, because I know there's no reason to be frustrated, because he's got a bigger plan for me. And that first plan wasn't supposed to work out. So like, I just ride the wave with him.
You got to ride the wave. And I think that's really a hard thing for people to accept, especially Christians, and it's another thing my pastor said, is that sometimes God asks us for endurance. And, he may ask us to stay in that valley a little bit longer. And that may be because he wants us to dig a metaphorical well so that other people may use when they get in that valley. And when I was struggling with all my mental health, that really hit hard for me, because it's a hard thing to accept that maybe God wants me to suffer for a little bit, but it made it a little easier to know that there was a purpose behind it. And maybe he wanted me to write this book and to let people know that they aren't alone. And so the book became my well, pretty much, that I dug, so that when other people get stuck in that place, they can look, whether it's heartbreak or depression or anxiety, they can read some of this stuff and be like, oh, this guy went through it. This guy definitely went through it, but he's still alive. He's still kicking. He's still going.
Absolutely. And that's where I came from. Once I got my recovery, I wanted to go work at the ranch to help people like you. And now I'm on the counselor side of it, where I'm in LADAC and stuff. And it's like, now I get to see a whole nother, I was just using my experience with you, and now I'm actually getting some knowledge behind some of the stuff. And it's like, I tell people all the time, I used to hate my story. Like, my story made me mad all the time. Mm-hmm. But now that I found God and I'm spiritual, I realize he sometimes he challenges his strongest soldiers, and so like, I had to go through trials and tribulations because he had a bigger plan for me than working at a Sonic. And he wants me to help as many men and women and children. But like, I focus a lot on the men, because I know that the stigma's there a lot more for the men than it is women, and he needed me to have a story to show these other people that something good can come out of it, and to me, that's why I'm okay with my story now, when I first shared my story at the ranch, I bawled my eyes out, and I've shared my story on my own podcast that, my family or nothing didn't know nothing about until it just popped out, and then like today I get invited to other facilities to tell my story, to show inspiration and hope for people that's not even in our treatment center. And it's just like, that's just God working. I'm just the vessel. Like, he's putting me in these positions, and I'm just the vessel to get the message out there. And like you said, the spirituality piece of recovery is absolute. To me, it's an absolute necessity. Can you get recovery without it? Yes, but it's absolutely way tougher. But if you have a higher power that you can turn everything over to, man, what a feeling.
But you make a good point, because sometimes you don't want to be that strong soldier, you don't want to be that vessel. And, I think people, when they talk about struggle and characters in the Bible, they point to Job. And I like to look at Jonah, man. I mean, that guy was swallowed by a damn whale, brother. He got eaten by a whale, the Sarlacc pit of the ancient times, man. He's Boba Fett. And I think, Jonah was running. That's why he got swallowed by the whale, is running from God. And I don't know, insert metaphor here for the whale being life. And, maybe sometimes we run away from God's purpose because that's not the idea we have for ourselves. And you only get so far, man. You only get so far. And I ran out of steam, and I just accepted it. I'm like, all right, God, I'll listen.
Yes, that's what happened to me. It's like, I was able to mask it and fake it by helping other people when I worked at Sonic. So when I finally lost it, everybody was like, there's nothing wrong with you, because like, you're always laughing, smiling, cutting up at work. What do you mean you got all these issues, And it's just where like my masking had finally gave up. Like, it was just, I had no more. I didn't have the energy to mask no more. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's exhausting to keep that mask up for so long. And I was also one of the same, always cutting it up and having, making people laugh. But you can only do it so long, man. And you only keep up the facade. And the longer you go without getting help, the worse it's going to get. And it eventually just blows up in your face. And that's exactly what happened to me. I lost my job, and I just couldn't keep it together. Couldn't even I couldn't even like drive without having these panic attacks. And these were things that I ended up learning at the ranch how to get through it, and just basic things, Juice, that we really need to be teaching kids in school.
I agree. Because some of the stuff that you can do for an anxiety attack and a panic attack is literally just slowing down your heart rate by slowing your breathing down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's so simple, but like it's not being taught nowhere.
And a lot of it is, so like when my thoughts get going and I start thinking, I'm spiraling, I call it the spin cycle.
Yes.
When I'm trapped in the spin cycle, Juice, I just stop breathing, and I'm not breathing at all. I'm just like frozen and stuck in this, like, you know, I'm Han Solo in the carbonite. How many Star Wars references am I going to do tonight, Juice? I'm sorry.
Do as many as you need.
I'm Han Solo in the carbonite, man. I'm trapped in the stuff. So but literally I'm not breathing, and your brain's not getting oxygen, and it's not good for your body. And it's anxiety is not just a mental thing, but it's such a physical thing too.
Yeah. Cause you get exhausted from it, you know, like, you know, cause your anxiety attacks turn into severe panic attacks, you know, and like where you quit breathing, other people breathe real fast. Cause mine was short, shallow breath. So I wasn't getting enough oxygen anyway. Cause I was like, you know, like you're just, my God, you're just hoping. And then you go to the ranch and they're like, hey, just slow down your breathing. And you're like, how the fuck do I do
How do
that?
I do that?
Somebody teach me.
Somebody teach me. And I learned some things that are really useful. The first technique I learned, and it was funny, I talked to my sister about it. It's like one of the first things I talked about was the frozen orange technique.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, for those who don't know, and my freezer is full of frozen oranges, brother. But yeah, you take an orange, you freeze it, and whenever you start, you know, having anxiety, you take the orange and put it on your neck or your arm, over your arm or your forehead, put it anywhere.
You can smell it.
Smell it, yeah. And the idea is that it grounds you, right? So it moves. You know, the idea of being cold, it really is what it is. That the shock in your body is it moves your thoughts from like the back of your brain to the front of your brain. I think I don't really know the science behind it, but I think that's the science behind it. But it moves your thoughts, so you start thinking more rationally. And I don't do that with just oranges. I do it with cold water.
Yes.
I highly suggest cold water. Each morning I splash cold water on my face. I can't leave the house without it. I got it. It just resets the brain.
The funny part, I live in an apartment complex, and they don't shut the pool down the whole year, right? So like they don't put a cover on the in-ground pool. Mm-hmm. So like there has been times where I was struggling and I went out there to the swimming pool like in the middle of the winter and just walked down the steps, dunked myself, and then walk back up and run back to my apartment. And I know people are over like, what the hell is this?
What is he doing?
But like,
why is he naked?
I needed that like reset for myself, you know, because as soon as you walk in and dunk yourself, you're like, and then all your anxiety is gone because your body's trying to warm up immediately.
Yep. I highly, you know, I just, the first thing I tell people when they're going through anxiety, deal with, you know, either take a cold shower. It really, really resets your brain. It was a huge coping mechanism for me, or not I guess coping mechanism. Would you say?
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. Another big thing is exercise. You gotta get your body moving because it moves the brain, and it's hard to go to the gym. Not everyone wants to go to the gym. So I got a buddy of mine, Peter Andros, and each morning he sends me a Snapchat of himself running. And he gives this little daily motivation. He motivates me to get moving too. Because I'm like, if Peter's running today, then I can go to the gym. So
there you go.
I get real mad at him when I don't get my Snapchats. I got on about the other day. I was like, I don't have my Snapchats today, Pete. What's going on? But that's honestly, that's the way Pete's serving. He's doing his own. He's serving his community. He's serving me right now. That, you know, just exercise, the frozen orange technique, the cold water technique, just simple. Eating healthy. Juice was another. You know, I was eating garbage, dude. I was eating freaking Cheez-Its all day.
Well, the funny thing is when I went to the ranch as a client, I didn't realize how much nutrition they would teach you there. Like, eat you a balanced meal with veggies. And like before I went to the ranch, I didn't eat. I ran a restaurant for 20 plus years. I was eating Sonic 3 times a day. And if I wasn't eating Sonic, I was eating Taco Bell.
It's good.
So like I had no diet. My diet was grease.
It's good, but it's not healthy.
Right.
And they bring that nutritionist in once a week, and they force you to cook, they force you to make the meals. And I got lucky because we had like a Michelin star chef or something.
Yeah, we
had
did.
like a chef in our group, and he was cooking every night, and I felt bad because I'm sure he was probably trying to get away from the kitchen for, part of the reason why I went to the ranch. But I sure learned a lot of cooking techniques from him. So you never know who you're going to run into. You never know who you're going to meet. I mean, these are people I would have never been friends with in a million years,
right,
if I wouldn't have gone to the ranch. And, now they're my brothers. Now I talk to, Levi, I talk to as much as I can. I see him every day on social media. I talk to you as much as I can. And it's a brotherhood. It's a group of great guys who also who are, and one thing I want to touch on is the greatest thing that the ranch does is they build that brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever, if you're a man going through the men's program, the women's program, they build that brotherhood and sisterhood, that community, that alumni program. And I don't know many other rehab programs that do that, but they really keep people in touch with one another. And that is the biggest thing in recovery, is keeping you in touch with not only, people that you went through the program with, but just keeping you a part of a community. Because it's just so easy to go back in that place, Juice. It's so easy to find yourself back in the pit, in the hole, the black hole. It's so easy to get back in that spot.
Yeah, and even touching on that, the ranch is, like you said, the ranch is phenomenal with their alumni program, because you can either go on Facebook and be like, hey, I am struggling today, I need help. And you'll have like 25 responses.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can jump on the online meeting on Thursday nights, sit there, cry your eyes out with 20 other people, and that's phenomenal. And then they have their in-person meeting. Me being out 28 months, I am still like I'm one of the elders in the room now as far as recovery time at the alumni meeting. And I missed about 6 weeks in a row here recently due to me being sick, late act program and stuff like that. And I got to go back this past Wednesday, and it was amazing how many people came up and was like, hey, where have you been? Like, and I had people texting me, Juice, you're not at the meeting. Are you okay? Like, is your mom okay? And it's just like, you don't realize how much you mean to other people until you're not there for a few weeks. And then you see that, like, if in my case, I'm more like of a leader now. When I was the young person, I was the guy with 30 days in recovery when I started that meeting. And now I'm 28 months, and most of the people in there is 6 months and less. So like, I am one of the elders they look up to. And it's like, it gives me a sense of purpose, because like, I will not quit going to that meeting, because I want them to have the opportunities I had when I had a good group of people, of elders in there when I started my recovery.
Mm-hmm. And that it's hard. You said something, that you were missed, and you never really know how much you mean to people when you're stuck in your own space, when you're stuck in your own head. And that's that great thing about that recovery community, is they show you the value of your life. And that's something I never really understood or accepted, that my life had value. And it wasn't really something I, accepted until I accepted Jesus into my heart. Was I just never thought I had any value. I thought I was just a dude who was just going to live life without a purpose. And I know I did mention earlier, I still struggle with my purpose. And that's the big thing, is what does God want me to do? What does he want me to not, I'm so impatient, Juice. I want everything right now,
Yeah.
It's like, tell me what my plan is now, but I don't know what my plan is. My dad always said, he thought he was going to be, play baseball the rest of his life. And, his plan was to be one of the greatest high school baseball coaches of all time. And he probably never would have guessed that. But,
right.
It's, you think you have one thing figured out, but the point is, I want everything right now, and that's not how God works. So,
and see, that's where me and you are alike.
Mm-hmm.
I want it now. And the best thing that God has taught me is to slow down and enjoy the moment. Like, we're 21 episodes into this podcast now. And the goal for the podcast is, I just wanted people to reach out and get help when they needed it, and through the podcast, we've had 5, 6 that we are aware of, not counting the ones that we're not aware of, that's gotten help, and somebody's like, you're on a podcast, you should be making money. And I'm like, no, this thing ain't making, we don't do it for the money. And I tell somebody all the time, I was like, once God's ready for it to blow up and have, the big podcast where it's got, 10,000, 100,000 views, he's going to make me go slow, because he knows if he gives me too much success at a time, I still can't handle too much success at a time, because he gave me an opportunity to run a restaurant for 20 plus years. And I made boo-koodles of money and had nothing left of it. So like, he knows me and success don't really go hand in hand. So he slows me down. And for me, that is the most amazing thing he's done for me, because if not, I would be sitting here today going, oh God, we're not successful, but he helped me make my goals to help people. And it's like, you help people, it will come. Like, your time will come. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing. Don't change up. Like, you just be original, act yourself. Like, don't try to copy nobody else. Just do you. And for me, God's slowing me down to where I can just be me and just let my people come on here, tell their stories, and help somebody. That's enough for me.
And it's hard to be yourself this day and age, especially with social media, man. It's all, social media was designed to keep people connected, but now it's just designed to keep people disconnected and to spread disconnect and to compare. The big thing is compare. Like, you get on social media and you start comparing your life to, to different people, and, you see the Instagram influencers and you're like, man, I wish I was born with a trust fund and with freaking Brad Pitt genetics, and but that's not you, and they're probably unhappy too. I guarantee it. There is no one unhappy, truly happy in this world, Juice. If they say that they're doing great and they're doing wonderful, they're lying to you. Everyone's got a struggle that they're going through, and they hide it. And that's what I did for forever. I just hid it because that's what I thought men did, but it's false. And social media is false, is a lie as well. But for us, we're trying to, you got your podcast and I got my book. We got to keep it to, to advertise, but you get trapped into those reels real easily, Juice.
Well, it's like the other day I was seeing where somebody was hating on this female who just started TikTok 2 weeks ago. And within 2 weeks, she had a video blowed up and she got like 1 million followers within 2 weeks. And like, all these people are like, I'm like, why crash on her? Let's find out what she did, and like, let's congratulate her. Like, why we gotta beat somebody down when they get successful fast? Because some people, they're just destined for it. Mm-hmm. That's their destiny. My destiny's slow and steady. Slow and steady is good for me.
It's good for me too, but it's hard to accept. The Lord knows what's good for you, but it's hard to accept.
Are you gonna write another book?
Oh yeah, I've been thrumming through this idea of a story about like a young adult novel about mental illness. And I mentioned earlier that I think these coping mechanisms should be taught in school. And I want to kind of gear a book towards young adult audiences to let them know that, things that I wish I knew when I was, in middle school or high school, that these are normal feelings, and they're probably going to have them for the rest of your life. But that's not the end of the world, because everyone's going to go through it one day or another. They're going to go through it. And lucky or unlucky, I dealt with death and addiction at a young age, and I was able to kind of get through that process pretty early on. And a lot of people don't deal with it until they're 30, 40 years old, and they got a wife, they got kids.
I was 40s, 45 before I got help.
Yeah, you're 45?
I'm 48 now.
What?
You didn't know that, did you?
No, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do I not look 48?
No, I don't think you were 48. I thought you were still in your 30s, man.
That's
only
awesome,
17, dude. I'm 17 years old.
We're gonna make this right here just a clip in itself to put on social media that you thought I was in my 30s, just so I can have a little bragging power.
You're gonna pin it. That's gonna be a pinned video clip.
It's like, Brian, you better remember where this time is right here, because like he just said I look like I was in my 30s. We gotta save that one. That's gotta go straight on social media.
45 minutes in, mark it down.
I was looking at it. You was talking about social media, and I don't know if you saw it or not, but where I work at Path, we put funny videos up quite often. We do funny stuff because it's ran by all of us funny people anyway, And so like we had one the other day where we sung, what was the song we sung?
Turn
Oh,
around.
Total Eclipse of the Heart. Did you see
I
that
saw
one?
it. Yeah.
Hey, got my big ass rolling around in the floor doing circles and singing. Hey, but see, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm a man child that knows when to be serious at times. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But like, to me, I am just me now. And love me or hate me, you're not going to stop me from just being who I am at this point. And that's what makes me feel happy.
Yep. You've learned to accept yourself, Juice. It's a hard thing to do, but you've gotten to that point.
3 years ago, I would have never put that video on social media. Never.
People would be missing out on that gold
Right.
video, man. I'd be missing out on it. I loved it, man. I thought it was great.
I told Brian, I told him, because me and him are goofballs all the time. Like the behind the scenes stuff that we do before we get on, like the stupid stuff we'll play, like we're saying on the mic and stuff to each other. Like I told him, me and him just need to make a comedy podcast where me and him are just making fun of other videos and doing like voiceovers on them and stuff.
You should,
like
honestly.
That's actually my personality, and it's something I want to do eventually. Once this one, because I love this one. This is my baby, but I also want another one to like show mine and his personalities, because like you got two natural born comedians in this room right now, and we have to like tone it back while we're on podcasting.
It's funny where you find your purpose and when you find it, right?
Absolutely. And when we're talking about God, here's you a God moment. I got out of the ranch from cutting, right? Cutting and suicide ideation. You knew that already. I was like, God, where am I supposed to go now? Because I'm on his coattails. Take me where I'm supposed to go. He goes, ha ha ha, you're going to Home Depot. Oh, there's something for me to cut down every aisle. Like this.
Yeah.
God, you set me up for failure right off the rip.
He was challenging you. Man.
He challenged me right. He's like, I want to see if you're really faithful or not. So you go to Home Depot. So I go there and I meet Brian. Brian is he's my manager at Home Depot. Well, we hit it off day one. Like the first time we worked together, we realized we had the same personality, and then it was on. And to the point where like we had to force ourselves to get our job done before we left work for the day, because like we would goof off the whole time. So then I approached him about this. I went to visit him after I left Home Depot to go work at the ranch. No, I went Home Depot to go work at Path. Well, I went to the ranch and then I was working at Path. So I was going by there to see him. And I told him I had this idea for the podcast, and he's like, tell me about it. So I told him about it. I was all into it. And he's like, what are your goals? I was like, my goals is just to help somebody. I want to get the message out there. I want to show people that we can heal, we can thrive, we can do whatever we want to do. Like this don't have to kill us. We don't have to commit suicide. We don't have to turn to drugs. Like we can turn this life around. He waited like a day. It wasn't even a whole day, I think. I think it was the afternoon, and next morning he said, I'm in, let's go. And I was like, what are we going to do? Well, he has a podcast that he does with his buddies for sports and stuff. So like he built my website. He started all my social media. Like he's the one that films all this. He's the one that does all the edits. Like literally I get on camera, I talk to people, and my dude but see, that's a God moment, because I thought I was there to help for my self-harm, but I was there to meet Brian. And it's funny how like a year after I left there, God put us together because he already had this plan. And to me, that's, if I wasn't spiritual, I would have never seen those moments. But now I see those moments a lot. And like when I was younger, and everybody's like, I hear God talk to me all the time. And I was like, I wish the fuck he would talk to me, because like he's just dumping on me.
Right? Like, why is he so mean to me?
But then like now, seriously, like you can almost hear him. It's almost like your intuition is almost like him talking to you like, hey, you better not do that. You're finna get in trouble if you do that. And it's funny when you're on the other side of it and you can tell people, like, you can hear those things now. And it's amazing.
It is. It really is. When you start noticing, you see the patterns, you see that, that God's really not out there to hurt you. He's there to, it may suck. You may be in that valley for a little while, but you never know who you're going to meet while you're in there. And you never know where that help's going to come from. But if you don't accept that you need help, you're never going to find it, Juice.
That's right. I agree with you 100%. And another funny story, the guy that I work for, Tyler, Me and him met each other 11 years ago when he got sobriety, because he was working at one of the like my partners at that time had a whole bunch of Sonics. So he was working at a Sonic that we would borrow food from. So me and him had known each other for 11 years before I started working for him at Path.
Wow. What?
Yeah, like I'm telling you, man, it's all God's work, man.
It's connected, man.
Absolutely.
It really is.
We're all connected, like, and this all was supposed to happen. And that's the miraculous part of living life, is you find your spirituality and you go back and you look at things and you're like, damn, I met this cat 11 years ago and now me and him are working a treatment facility together. I met Brian 2 years ago. Now we're doing podcasting together. It's like, it's amazing when you open your eyes and you have a recovering mind and a spiritual heart, that you see these things happen. Like for me, it's like, when I tell you, when you was at the ranch about week 3, the light bulb kicks on people.
Yeah.
It's like,
yep.
It's almost like that feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like when you watch a client eyeballs light up and that sparkle comes back, it's like God has entered their soul. Like you can almost see it happen.
You can see it. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. And you're right. It is that third week. And it took me 7 days. It took me 7 days to accept that I was there and I needed to change my life. And it came from Levi again. I was struggling, man. I was having a terrible day at the ranch. Just wanted to go home. I was ready to give up. And I was just outside, just wallowing in my self-pity and nonsense. And Levi came and he grabbed me around the shoulder. And he took me for a walk and he said, "What are you here for?" And I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm here for. I have no purpose. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, "No, you're here to get better. That's what you're doing, but you're not doing anything right now to get better, but you're going to find it here." And he kind of went into his story and his background. And, I thought in my head, I'm like, if this guy, from everything he just told me, can get to this place he's in now, why can't I? And that's a great thing the ranch does, is they put you with people who, I mean, you're not in there with, I mean, I'm sure there's clients who come and, they're not supportive of one another. And I'm sure that happens. I did not see that. I mean, I was at the ranch with, 23 people in my house, and then God knows how many at the drug and alcohol house coming in and out. But I didn't see one person that wasn't there to help one another. And I don't know how that is at other recovery places, but I was not expecting that. So Levi really helped open my eyes in that moment.
And he was so intimidating to look at, like you expect this guy to just like beat the shit out of you as far as look at you. But then when you got to know him, you're like, oh, you are the softest teddy bear.
Yeah.
You are the most kind-hearted person.
We were an odd combo because Levi, is big and he's jacked and
tattoos everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm short. I'm 5'5", and like,
But you're right. Like, y'all were the odd couple. Y'all were.
Yeah, we were the
together.
odd couple. We were. We still are, man. But we,
or like that movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
That's exactly what it was, man. We were the twins of the ranch. I hope he listens to this, man. I really do. Man, but he, you never know who you're gonna find, who you're gonna make friends with there, and
it's usually somebody you would never be friends with, and that's your lifelong brother right there for no reason.
I would have avoided him. I'd be afraid of him. I was afraid.
Yeah, like if I saw Levi walking down the street, I'd be like, shit, I'm not pissing him off.
Yeah, but he's the best dude ever, man. He's just
and he loved giving hugs to everybody.
Mm-hmm. He's a big hugger.
I remember every day I come into work, he would be waiting for me at the door. And I was like, I love this guy.
He's got such a good heart, man. I hope you get him on here, man. I hope.
I need to. Last time I heard from him, he was in Texas doing some work down there. That's the last time I talked to him.
I think he's still in West Virginia. We'll have to, after this, I'll give you his contact info.
Cool. Sounds good.
He lifted me up when you're in that place. And that's what you need. You need those people in your life, and you never know who God's going to put in your life, what they're going to look like, what they're going to be, and what their background is. You never know where you're going to find help, but again, you got to ask for it.
But see, where he was the one that lifted you up, that's why y'all have a bond that's unbreakable today. See, for me, my two guys that like were they were my dudes. The second time I was at the ranch was my buddy Jack and Mike, and they're both musicians. And like, we have a thread that we text. I mean, we don't text every day, but like, if I feel like I haven't heard from them in a while, I'll shoot a text like, hey, I miss y'all and I love y'all. And they answer right away, you know, and they both follow the podcast and I follow their careers. And, you know, Mike got me passes to his band that plays when they were at Brooklyn Bowl here in Nashville.
Whoa, that's so nice.
Yeah, and like it was fun. And then we went. Me and him hung out on his tour bus and just had a blast, man. And like just cutting up and goofing off. I told him I was going. Me and Brian was going to come down to Memphis and do his story. Because I want to go down there and eat some barbecue. Because, you know, it's Memphis. You got to eat some barbecue.
You got to eat the barbecue in Memphis.
Yeah, like it's worth 4 hours of driving to do a podcast and eating barbecue. Like, come on now.
You got to do it. It's like the pancake business. I gotta plug
yes, shout out the pancake business.
The Pancake Daddy's business. I gotta plug them. The mini pancakes, the best mini pancakes in Knoxville.
Say it again, Pancake Daddy, right?
Pancake Daddies.
There you go, Pancake Daddy. If you're in Knoxville, go visit Kyle's brother at Pancake Daddy's. He's got two carts now. 2 carts.
I think he expanded. He's at 2 carts now. He does 2 different locations. So we're usually at the Knoxville market on Saturday, and talk about, you know, serving, you know, finding that purpose to serve. You know, I was in the service industry for like 7 years, dude. And I oddly enjoyed it. And you might have gotten something out of it when you were at Sonic, but it fulfilled my purpose to serve others, or my want or need to serve others. And I never thought making mini pancakes and serving them to the Knoxville community would fulfill a purpose, but it does. It does.
Like for me, my thing was I loved my crew. My crew was my family when I was in Sonic, and I loved the money that I made there so I could do stuff for the community in Springfield, like with the churches and the schools through Sonic, through my own personal donations. Like, it's like I used to tell people all the time when I was in Sonic, I was basically just an overpaid social worker, because it's not even the burger business that I loved toward the end. It was just, they were family. Like, we were tight. Like, we would hang out after work. Like, it wasn't just like a normal go to work type of boss job. Like, you know, they were family. They're not supposed to be, because they're supposed to be your workers, but like, these people were family.
And that's a hard thing for, you know, when I switched over from service industry to corporate, it's not so much the job I have now. I work for a great company. My friend's dad runs the company. He's a really, really good man. And it's insurance. I don't get anything out of insurance, but I get something out working at the company because we have a great bond. But you're not going to find that in most corporations. And when I went into the corporate world, it was really, really hard for me to accept that these people aren't your friends. You know,
now you're a number in corporate world for the most part.
You're just a number. And I did not like that. I can't work for a company where you're just a number. I'm at a company now where they know my name. They like me. They know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, when I'm in a good mood, when I'm in a bad mood. They know me personally because they care about me.
Absolutely.
Corporations don't care about people. You're a number. It's insane. It's not good for anybody. I mean, that's really when my mental health started to tank, Juice, is I went and got my degree, and people were like, now you can go work for the corporate world and make lots of money. Well, yeah, I was making lots of money, but I wanted to die every day, Juice.
Yeah, because like, you know, when you're a number in a corporation, your job is on the line every single day. Because like in corporate world, especially if you have a job that requires a degree, there's always somebody coming out of school that's a little smarter than you. You know, or you got that new kid that comes in that's really trying to thrive and take your spot. So like, corporate world's you know, a dog eat dog world out there. So like, I can see where the mental health would be terrible in the corporate world.
It's hard. It's not for me. My job is just corporate enough, but it's bearable because it's a good company and it's run really, really well. And I'm fortunate. You know, I don't like insurance. I don't get purpose out of doing insurance, but I get purpose working at this company and working with friends. And that's why, you know, I'm still there, but I still want to write. I write every day. Writing doesn't always pay the bills. I don't have JK rolling money right now, but it doesn't really, that's not why I write. You know, I write to not just fulfill my own purpose, but to help other people. I want to be able to write something that changes someone's life and makes them realize that they are not alone. These feelings that they have are not just feelings specific to them. people have gone through horrible heartbreak, horrible depression, horrible anxiety, and are still going through it. And it's okay. You know, for a long time, Juice, I still am, to be honest with you. I'm ashamed of my weakness, and I'm ashamed of, you know, my anger, my words that I've said or words I have not said. But the best thing about this is that I have and a lot of people don't have this, and I do really feel for them, but I have a community. I have support of people that love me, people that will lift me up. I have, you know, Jesus in my heart. And I know that sounds corny, but I know my therapist said the other day, Elena, she said that we are the son or daughter of a king. And we may have vulnerable moments, but we aren't weak. And it's okay to ask God for faith sometimes, even if we don't have it. It's okay to ask for faith. It's okay to ask for strength. And it's okay to ask for a willing heart. And I need to ask that every day, Juice.
Absolutely.
And I know when he hears me calling, he's like, "Oh, great. What's he want what's he want now?" No, I don't know. Maybe he does say that. I don't know how God works sometimes, but I know each time he's going to forgive me. And
absolutely.
But we can ask for forgiveness as many times as we want, but we got to change our habits, Juice. That's what it comes down to.
You can't stay in the same habits, you know, because we learned at the ranch that's a definition of being insanity.
It's not just when it comes to religion. That's just when it comes to addiction and you know, I liked getting high, Juice. I won't lie to you. Getting high was great, but there ain't nothing there. There really isn't. It's there's no substance there. There's no.
Yeah.
You're not growing. You're not growing in yourself. You're just. It's a selfish act, is what I've learned, and you know, I wasn't doing anything to move my life in the positive direction. And I could ask my family forgiveness or friends forgiveness and God for forgiveness as many times as I wanted, but until you start changing your habits, you're going to be stuck in that pit, Juice.
Yeah. Did you notice when you got out, you know, with your mental health? Because, you know, we've said sorry a million times, you know, to the point where sorry it wasn't even a decent word no more by the time we got out of treatment. But like you had to show you were sorry. You know, like your actions meant more than your words at this point. So like you had to like show that you were sorry instead of just saying I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard sometimes to say I'm sorry, but it's easy to say it and just not mean it.
Yes.
Because it's just words, but you got to back it up with your actions, brother. And I don't know what that's going to look like for anyone listening, what their sorry is, but I promise when you make peace with not just yourself, but you make peace with, you know, the people around you, it's going to be a lot easier. And I struggle with saying that because I'm a bit of a hypocrite, because I do still struggle with making peace with certain people in my past or certain situations or past relationships or whatever. I still struggle to this day to make peace with it. It's not easy. It really, really isn't. But when you let go of that hate,
yes, it's letting go of the hate part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you let go of the hate, it's not controlling you no more.
Nope.
And you got to give yourself grace, because you're a little over a year into this. So like, you got to think you had more years not doing good than you have doing good. So like, don't forget to give yourself some grace, because you know you're a little over a year into this journey. So like for me, I still have issues sometimes with myself, you know, and my imposter syndrome and the way I look, the way my body dysmorphia works for me, as far as how I see myself when I see myself in a mirror. Like, you know, I know what I weigh on a scale, but like sometimes I catch myself looking at myself in the mirror and I feel like I weigh like I'm like one of the 800-pound sisters off of like TLC. And I mean, that's just being the honest truth. Like as real as I could be. And I laugh about it at times too, you know, because like I will see these people and I'm like, damn, that's exactly what I look like. But like, and you can't help it. So like with me, with just having, you know, I just rolled over 28 months 4 days ago, you know, there's still issues that I can work on myself, and I give myself grace, because like I went through this for 30 plus years. I've only been in a good mind frame for 28 months. And you can't even really say 28 months total, because when you first get out, you still have a couple of rough months right there at the beginning, you know, trying to get acclaimed and get your footing and everything going. So say I've got 24 good months literally 24 good months. I have to really look at like 30 years, 24 months. Like, come on, Juice. You can't get mad at yourself that you're not further along in your own recovery, because like, gotta give myself grace.
It's so hard to give yourself grace. It's hard for me to give myself grace. It's hard for me to sometimes give other people grace because I want to be perfect, but
Yes,
we aren't perfect people. We are not perfect people. We'll never be perfect people. It's that ship has sailed. And that's another thing that's hard for me to accept, because I don't want to have these flaws, but that's what makes us human. Are these flaws? What makes us unique are these flaws. I don't want to have deformed feet or messed up legs, but I've learned to switch my mindset and accept that these aren't flaws. They're just things that are unique to me.
exactly. They're unique to us. We're all
gifts.
unique.
Yeah, you can use them as gifts. So
yeah,
I'm on this journey of trying to use my own journey in a way to help and motivate other people to realize that, hey, you're not alone. But you're unique to yourself. You're unique to your own journey, and there's nothing to be ashamed about.
Absolutely. There was something I was fixing to ask you, and then I just completely blew it in my brain. So keep going. This will be funny when everybody's watching. It's like, well, he just had a brain fart.
I touched on like everything I wanted to talk about. I may have gone off the rails a little bit, but it's just at the too long didn't read section of this. If you really want to summarize everything I want people to know, is that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
And ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And you may have to do it more than once. There's no shame in it. There's no shame, especially for men, to ask for help. There are people who out there who want to help you. There are places like the Ranch, Path to Recovery. There are plenty of places. I highly suggest those two places, obviously, because of A, my own experience, and B, I know you work there. So
absolutely, I appreciate that.
I can't speak for other rehabs or how they do things or how they work, but I know from personal experience, I know the Ranch works. I know it works. They have a program, but it's hard to stay in there for a month. But I promise you, if you stay in there 1 month, if you bake in the oven for 1 month, is what, like a piece of bread is what I kind of figured myself. I wasn't ready. I was just baking. So I was, till I was ready to come out is what I kept telling myself. I'd come out. But it's not easy being green, Juice, as Kermit would say. But
right.
I'm unique in my own ways, and I've learned to accept it. And you got to love yourself, and that's really freaking hard. It's hard to love yourself, hard to accept yourself for your faults, but I promise you, God didn't make you this way because he hates you.
Man, I'm so glad we got to catch up and do this tonight. Like,
me too.
Even with the delays and everything else, like this has been fun. I miss seeing you at the meetings, but I know you live too far away to pop up all the time.
It's hard to make that 3-hour journey.
It's hard to come drive 6 hours worth of driving for a 1 hour meeting. Like that's not even logical sense,
But I was doing it for a while.
You did. Yeah. There for a while, you were showing up to every week or at least every other week. So like, next time you're heading up this way, just give me a shout and let's grab some lunch or something.
I will, Juice, for sure. We'll definitely have to catch up.
With that being said, we're coming to the end of our show. If you need help out there, if you feel alone, if Kyle's story resonates with you and you need some help, go to our website, morningjuicepod.com. There's a section on there where you can fill out your name, email. It'll shoot an email straight to me. Either me or Brian will get it. If Brian gets it, he shoots it straight to me. We'll reach out to you, get you the information, any help you need. If you're wanting residential, any kind of care, the staff at Path will jump on it and help you get to where you need to go. Check us out on YouTube, The Morning Juice Pod. Please like, subscribe, share, comment on it. Like we want more viewers to get this out there to everybody else in the world. And the only way we can do that is by y'all sharing it. Don't be like, we want you to share it on your social media. We want you to share it on your Facebook. We want y'all to share this and get this message out, because our goal is just to try to get people help. You can also log into our Instagram at Morning Juice Pod. You'll see little clips, little funny clips on there, clips of the show. You can also, where else can they see us, Brian? TikTok. There we go. You got the Morning Juice Pod on TikTok. I have my own TikTok. It's at Juice. You just get on there and you can check us out. I'm on there to share everything that Morning Juice has on there, and a lot of times we find new people to talk to about their stories. That we found a couple off TikTok, a couple off Instagram. So like, we appreciate the people that have reached out to us to be on our show. With that being said, an update on Mom, because the last couple episodes we've been talking about Mom. Mom's out of the hospital for 2 weeks now. She's been doing a lot better. Glory to God for that one. Thank everybody for their prayers during that really tough time. I appreciate y'all for that. And with that being said, this is Juice. We're out. See you, Juicers.
See you, everyone.